Welcome to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack on Foxsoul. As the number of single Black mothers continues to rise, the narrative of Black men being labeled as deadbeat fathers remains at the forefront in the media and the child support court system. However, on Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack, we ain't trying to feed into that narrative. This platform of the media wants to shed truth to the myth of deadbeat dads. And I want to take an honest look into what is feeding this false narrative and what role the child support system plays in dismantling the Black family. Let's get down to business. The business of being Black today is the child support system, helping or hurting the Black family. Please welcome Dr. Sabrina Jackson. Hi, Dr. Sabrina Jackson.
Hi, Tammi Mack.
Judge Vonda B. Hi, Judge.
Hi, Tammi Mack.
And comedian Mark Prince is here to give us a little humorous spin, but some truth to the matter as well. Hi, Mark Prince.
Great morning to you, Miss Tammi Mack.
So I always like to start with one question that plagues Black people. We want to know, why should we even care about things that are happening in America when America doesn't care about us? So the question today is, why should Black people care about the child support system? Judge.
I believe that Black people should care about the child support system because it impacts more than just finances. You know, when you look at a single mom, or you may look at a single dad, it's about the emotional aspect that it not only has on the parents, but the psychological and emotional state that it has on the child too. And I think when you look at it from a holistic view, you're able to see that you have to care because it, impacts and affects every single part of your life beyond, like I said, the financial aspect of it.
Dr. Sabrina, why should Black people care about the child support system in America?
Well, the first thing is that it's impacting Black people in alarming rates. So many Black families have to go through this system, whether they choose to, they have to. So when you find a woman who may be getting on aid in her state and they are going after that father for that money, those are Black people who are impacted by that. So we have to understand the system so that we can then effectively work the system.
Mark Prince, why? Why should Black people care? Why should you care?
As Dr. Sabrina just pointed out, when you are getting this right here from the system, this piece of paper, this little money right here says we are going to torment the Black daddy of that baby in all kind of ways. And that's why we should care, because it also helps keep the Black daddy away from the child. That's why we should care.
I like the props. How did you get that?
That's not a prop. I grew up on that. That's not a prop. That's food stamp. I grew up with this right here.
You grew up on it. I think we've all experienced it in some form or fashion, but I'm just like, how'd you get, they don't even have the actual, they don't even have the paper food stamps anymore. It's the EBT card now, Mark Prince.
EBT card.
Well, see, Miss Mack, now you're about to get me to admit to a crime in front of the judges. I used to bootleg these. I used to bootleg these judges. Counterfeit food stamp, baby, 2 for 10.
Let's not get you into any trouble since we're talking about the Black fathers up in here, Mark Prince. What is child support enforcement? And is it a fair system, Judge?
Child support enforcement is where a parent that's ordered to pay child support, for whatever reason, they've fallen behind, they haven't made payments, or they have made payments, but not the full amount that they're ordered to pay every month. So in that case, either the other parent or the state, which I'm in Texas, so the state of Texas can file a motion asking the court to hold that particular parent in contempt for failing to pay their child support. So that's what an enforcement is. And there are a variety of different punishments if you are if you're found to be in contempt. You can go to jail. Your licenses, all of your professional licenses can be suspended. So a legal license, fishing license, if you're a doctor, your doctor license, like all of your licenses can be suspended, as well as you being ordered to pay attorney's fees.
Yeah, Texas, I believe, has some of the harshest child support laws that exist. I mean, you talk about suspension of the driver's license or passport, the revocation of professional and occupational licenses, bank and property liens, tax refunds can be taken. I know a few fathers who had their stimulus checks taken away from them. They can take lottery winnings away from you if you were to win the lottery. So it is a lot at stake. My question is that fair? Because if you are a father who can't pay child support, or you're paying the minimum of what you're supposed to be paying, then how is it that you're supposed to acquire some type of income if you have no car, no driver's license to drive you back and forth to work? You lose your professional and occupational license, so you have no means of work. You can't have a bank account. I mean, these are some serious issues that prevent you from being a father who is financially responsible if you get into child support issues, Dr. Sabrina.
Well, I just want to say that it's so important to know there is a difference from ducking payment or trying to hide money and not being able to pay. And it's upon Black people, it seems like, with the Black man, when he's unable to pay, they are treated so much more punitively than those who may just be hiding money. So if you have money and then you can hide it, you have attorneys and things that can help you hide it. But when you don't have money and you don't have attorneys, you get punished with all that long list of punitive infractions that then in turn hinders the father from being a father, not only financially, but his ability to do visitation, from his ability to provide emotional support, from his ability to just be able to go to the game for their child when they don't have that money that they need and they don't have the support. So not only is the system unfair, there's not a lot of pieces and places that support the person who is unable to pay.
Mark Prince.
I think you ladies have really nailed a lot of it on the head because, of course, obviously, I'm a Black man. I have children. I have been through the child support system. I have raised a great young man through college and everything through that system. And everything you ladies laid out is so impressive because it is exactly to the T. How do I go to work if you take my license? If I'm a plumber and you take my driver's license and my plumber's license because I fall behind, say I make $600 a week. Child support takes what, $250 out of that a week, then Uncle Sam and other stuff like that. So I can never keep up. I can never catch up. It's like sharecropping for Black men. You can never catch the thing. And then with the interest put on top of that, right? So if this Black man is going to work every day and they're taking chunks of his check and he can't catch up, you, with all of these things you put on him, and you're going to put him in jail, you've officially made a criminal out of a non-criminal, using his child as the way to make the criminality. I remember African-American professor told me, he said that when you criminalize things that people of a culture do, then you criminalize that culture itself. Right. So when they do these things to Black men, it takes you from being a working Black man to a criminal. And then, like I think the doctor laid out, we can't go to the children's ball games and this, that, and the other. Like, this man doesn't have emotions. And Black people, we're the number ones with emotions because we have melanin. We have an abundance of emotions. That's just it. You know, hang it up, people. But that causes emotions. And I'll finish with this. That triggers the Amber Alert system because he wants his child. He wants to be next to his child. So all of these things eventually domino, everything you ladies laid out, but it dominoes effects into a man ending up, he becomes a fugitive by the courts because he didn't pay child support, and he may become a fugitive of the courts because he's being kept from his child. And I commend you ladies on everything you laid out. Thank y'all.
Yeah, it's interesting, the interest that's tagged on to child support as well. That keeps you in that sunken place for eternity. There's no way to get out of it. My father still owes child support. There's no way for him to get out of that. No way. He'll never get out of it because the interest has been tagged on for over 25 years now. How is it possible that you can catch up to that? You would have to win a lottery. But if you won the lottery, they would take those winnings from you. Judge Vonda, talk about it.
And you know what else, Tammy, in addition to it being intercepted, you know what else can happen? The mother of that child can then take dad back to court on a modification and seek that his child support is then increased. So it's a revolving door of putting the father back into what you referred as that sunken place. It's a catch-22. You know, you earn more money to make a decent living, you know, to take care of the home that you created, assuming that the father has since moved on, got a new relationship, new marriage, or additional children, right? So he's doing all of this to better himself and to come out of a place where he's able to not only provide for that previous child, but the new children that he may have. But then you're hit again. Oh, I hear you got a raise, or I hear you hit the lottery, or I hear, you know, you have an inheritance or something like that. This previous child needs more of that money. So the way that the laws in Texas are written, they are for the father that is genuinely trying. It can give off that impression that it is extremely punitive. But then, you know, it's that question of where do you draw the line? Because you have so many men that really just walk away from the obligation altogether. You know, you really would have to have two separate laws, one that is reflective of those that are evading the child support obligation, and ones that are really trying to do it, just do not have the means to do so.
Yeah, the unfortunate part in that, though, is that how do you determine which is which? We're going to take a quick break. Mark Prince, I see you trying to jump in. We're going to jump right into it right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I am Tammi Mack, and the business of being Black today is the child support system. Is it helping or hurting the Black family? Please welcome Dr. Sabrina Jackson, Judge Vonda B., and comedian Mark Prince. Mark Prince, you were wanting to dive in before we went to commercial break. Please do so, sir. We're having a little problem with your sound. I'm not sure if you're on.
I was listening to the great judge, and I just wanted to say, first of all, we need a lot more judges like you in these arenas that could see that father is working towards giving his child economic stimulus, right? And versus the fathers who evade. You can see that on paper. You can hear it in those fathers' rhetorics. I am not here today to speak on behalf of any of those fathers who evade their financial obligation to their children. Bro, my conversation does not pertain to you. So please don't take anything I say to give you a scapegoat, right? You have to financially take care of your child. I want to say that. So my current child is 7.5 years old. I went down to the Los Angeles Superior Court, and I filed a child support case against myself.
That sounds like a good idea. I often tell—
It don't work, Tammy. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Okay, it sounds like a good idea.
The entire court process for her to tell me that you cannot file child support against yourself. She said to me, "I'm sorry, Mr. Prince, but we don't have a space for men like you in this courtroom. You cannot file child support against yourself." Because when you do pay child support, is what the judge said, all of those liberties, your father rights come with those liberties when you do pay your child support. And so they wanted to, you can't file against yourself. You can't. So you are stuck in a perpetual wheel, in a perpetual motion. I'm not saying woe is me as the Black man, but if the Black man only makes 65 cents on the dollar compared to the white man, why do the Black man expected to pay the same percentage rate of child support against his earning as somebody who earns a whole entire dollar? Yes, things have to be compartmentalized. Black men are economically making lower wages. So you can't put the same percentage scale on us of what we make when we make 65% on the dollar. Right? You have to adjust those, and you have to give breaks for those fathers who are making those payments, those fathers who are really trying. You can see that on the paperwork. You can tell the fathers that are trying. The other fathers who don't try, well, those are the ones you see in the music videos throwing up the money at the strip club, making it rain. That's all the baby money that's coming down on that stripper. You understand me? While the real fathers like us that really try, we do get the hard end of the stick. I'm not saying woe is me, but it is a new way of slavery, and it is a new way of uncoupling that Black man from the relationship with that child.
But I do know some fathers who have filed child support on themselves. So there is some way of doing that. Dr. Sabrina, go ahead.
I was just going to say it is available in some states, but like you said earlier, every state is different. But one of the things that's really important to know, like I am a single mother, and when I became divorced from my ex-husband, the judge said something very poignant that some mothers don't get. He said there is a separation between a visitation order and a support order. And I couldn't, as a mother, say that you can't visit if you haven't paid. And the judge made that very clear to me. And a lot of women hold that over the father's head. You haven't paid your support this month, so you can't get your visitation this month. And that is not the law. The law is separate orders. So if you're not paying your child support for whatever reason, if you can't pay it, you've been laid off or whatever, you still supposed to have that visitation with that child. And a lot of mothers hold that over and say, no, you can't see them. And that perpetuates that not keeping the family together and making the father out as the bad guy because he wasn't able to pay, but he was able to take the child to school. He was able to still do his visitation. He was able to go to the game with the child, but you won't let them because you're so hung up on the money.
Ooh, yeah, we getting deep up in it right now. Okay, real deep up in it. Okay, I wanna revisit what we talked about in terms of separating those fathers who evade child support versus those fathers who are put on child support and just simply are trying to do their best to maintain their child support payments. Those fathers eventually become the fathers who evade child support because of how torn the system is. You feel hopeless. You feel like there's never a way out, especially if you think past 18 years and think that even when your child is in their 20s, you will still be paying child support. Is there something to say about that, Judge Vonda?
Well, there is. It's one of those things, though, that's really unfortunate because until there is change in the Texas legislature, in the legislation of these states, we're not going to see any, because remember, the Attorney General's office, that's the governing body over the child support section, right? They have an interest in these child support cases because they are the ones doing the monitoring. So if you receive child support services, typically you have to pay, not personally out of your pocket, but any child support payments that you receive, you'll see a monitoring fee that comes out once a month. So this is the same agency that you have to pay that fee to, as well as getting the interest stamped on these child support arrears. So, the overarching question is, what do we do as state, local, officials that can make the pendulum swing the other way? And me personally, for the attorneys of the world, it takes for you to be really creative when these cases come in front of you. Like, what are you going to do for the parent that is trying? What are you going to do for the parent that is the working parent and really wants to be a part of their children's lives, right? There are certain portions of the family code that allows you to kind of help out your client in that way. And as judges, even though we have a lot of discretion, right? We know what the law says. There are certain things you can and can't do. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that things are equitable. And equitable does not always mean fair. It is doing what is going to be right, what's in the best interest of the parents, but what is also in the best interest of the children, but is what's also most equitable for the parents. So I think if you look at it from an equitable standpoint of the players in the system, you may get a little further because the legislation, I don't see it changing anytime soon.
So where did all this child support stuff come from? Is it racial? Does discrimination play a significant role in this child support system, Mark Prince?
It's a systematic measure to decouple you, the Black woman, from me, the Black man. It's definitely a systematic. It's the continuation of slavery done through law, right? It is when they give the Black woman this every month, then the government now becomes her provider, right? Who that job? That was my job, right? Now, in the 60s and 70s, also, when you got this, the man couldn't be in the house.
Yeah.
Right. So we can see this.
We all remember that movie Claudine.
Claudine.
Yes.
With James Earl Jones
Carroll
and
James
right?
Earl Jones.
And, and it explicitly showed you that the law states that as long as you get this, he cannot be in the house. Well, that was the beginning of decoupling the Black father out of the home, right? Now, they did this for some generations until that honestly got onto autopilot with the Black men, right? So then what did they do secondary? Well, when we're in school, they treat Black boys entirely different than they treat Black girls, right? They treat us as dumber and less than. I was told in the 7th grade, first day, don't waste my time. Half you boys gonna be dead by the end of the semester. The other half gonna be in jail. This was my pep rally talk in the 7th grade, right? Wow. So we know what they do to us Black men educationally. But when it gets to the workplace, so they put the Black woman in the workplace, in the office place since the 80s, and making her the breadwinner, which is great for her because I don't want to see my Black woman washing clothes in the first place. She has an incredible mind that needs to be tapped. However, they don't give us Black men a lot of those positions, right? Because we're not that guy. We won't decapitate ourselves down there. So we don't really go in the office place. So now when this Black woman comes home and she's the breadwinner, she feels some kind of way. This is all being pumped into her. She feels some kind of way. She makes more money than him. So now she's the breadwinner. She doesn't need him. She decouples from him. He gets put on the child support. He still has to pay her, pay child support with his meager wages.
Oh, that thought. Let's go to commercial break and come right back. Let's get down to business. It's Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Tammi Mack, and today the business of being Black is the child support system. Is it helping or hurting the Black family? Please welcome Dr. Sabrina Jackson, Judge Vonda B., and comedian Mark Prince. I love that you brought up the fact, Mark Prince, because this goes way back to food stamps and the government caring for the Black family. In order to receive food stamps or anything supplemental from the government, the father could not be present. No man could be in the house with the woman, which is in itself unfair. And I mean, I don't know how clear of an example we can get in terms of we don't want the Black man to be a part of his family. Let's move him out. I mean, you can't get a clearer example of the intent in that. Other than I think other people would say, but they do it to white men too. I question that, Dr. Sabrina.
I am with you 110%. And this is the other thing that we have not really even scratched the surface on, is that when mothers have deemed this man as the father, and now he's paying child support, and he may be paying child support for 10 years, and then they find out the child wasn't his in the first place, the system never goes after the mother for that money, or he is never given back that 10 years worth of support that he is given. And for some situations, if he was married to her at the time, and even though the child is not his birth-wise, they still make him pay. Yes. Even though the child is not him, is his. So the system is...
Go ahead.
The system is just constantly boiling over and rolling over on the Black man. I will even say in my case, I was never on the system. I was never on that. But when I got a divorce, in my divorce proceedings, they made me and him go to the friend of the court to have a child study done. And that brought the court into what the divorce decree agreement would be. They automatically infused themselves into our situation. And that wasn't our issue. We weren't on aid, none of that. So the system is going after these people systematically.
I think some politicians are missing the mark here. I think when some politicians start diving into the child support system, you will see a lot of Black men voting for them. They are missing the mark. Judge Vonda, go ahead.
Well, and I can relate to that closely because I just ran a campaign, right? And of course, I won. Judge-elect Vonda Bailey of the 255th Dallas County District Court. Just had to plug that real quick.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You see that a lot, but I tell people when it comes to politicians, listen less to what they say during politics. Pay attention to the people they were prior to them running. I've always been an advocate for fairness. I've always been an advocate of, fathers' rights, parents' rights, grandparent rights. I just like to see people treated right. And Dr. Jackson raised an important point about when men are deemed to not be the fathers, how they're ordered to still pay child support. I remember very vividly a case of mine years ago, and still to this day, it gives me pause when I think about it. This dad found out that 2 of his children did not belong to him. And because the deadline had passed for what the law says that he can contest the signing of this acknowledgement of paternity, which I'm really big on educating people about that powerful document, he had to still remain on child support. And it was unfortunate because even after that time, had another man came up and said he wasn't the father, that his time expired too, to contest or challenge the acknowledgement of paternity. So it's really unfortunate, I would say, all of the things that take place in the child support court that you actually see. But I think one of the things, going back to what Mr. Prince brought up in terms of breaking down the Black family and needing these resources, it's unfortunate that a number of us need it. Because if we didn't really need the resource, we wouldn't have court intrusion within our families.
Well, in my case, I did not need it, but it was because of the law in the state of Michigan is if you're going to get a divorce and you have a child, you have to go through the friend of the court for a child study. So they came and talked to me, they came and talked to him, and they wrote an order that went with my divorce decree.
Right. And that's the intrusion. And some, with Texas, child custody, and here they're called child custody evaluations. They're discretionary. The judges can order them how they believe they need to go, but then some, it's by agreement a lot of the other times. But I don't know a lot about laws in other states, but when people talk to me on TikTok and Instagram and they talk about the different laws in their state, it's automatically intrusive the way that the law is written. And it's really unfortunate because it's almost like, yeah, you need my help. This is the state, right? You need my help. But because you need my help, then I'm going to get into your business and then dictate, essentially, right, how you all are going to parent, how you all are going to make sure that this money is spent for these children, those type of things. It's really unfortunate because I think the breakdown really starts there with the intrusive part of it from the moment that you ask for resources or the moment that you file anything in court. And I try to educate people all the time. If you are working parents working in terms of co-parenting and you can get a loan, work that out, because the moment you invite the court into your situation, you automatically open up a variety of things that you really were not anticipating. Jail, and that's on both sides, the failure to pay, the failure to turn over the child. There are just a lot of consequences that naturally come with it when you file for child support or child custody in court.
Mark Prince, do you believe white men are treated differently than Black men when it comes to court-ordered child support?
I've seen it. It's not what I believe. I've sat in custody court, and I do for more than just my case. Sometimes I go and I just sit and just listen. So if I got to go down there and file paperwork in my case, I'm going up to the judges, to the joint, and I'm just going to sit in the back and watch whatever cases go before me. And it's definitely different than what y'all see court on TV, right? It's definitely different. And yes, the white men will get off on child support and all kind of stuff. They can have restraining orders against them, and they will still get liberties that Black and brown people will not get. So yes.
Liberties like what? Can you give us an example?
Examples like they can have a restraining order and still have visitation with their children. Examples, right? Examples like they could hide money and don't get sanctioned for it, right? Examples like it takes them to get an Amber Alert in order to be, okay, so I taught child development and parenting classes at the Children's Institute of Los Angeles out here. So I would teach classes and stuff on how to be with your kid and stuff like that. Well, I had one client, it was a white man. He was pulled over with his kid in the car. He was drunk. He was already on basically child probation with his child and everything. The state took his license after that. But what he reported when he came back to the class was they still gave him custody to his child after that. Right? They never sanctioned him in the court for what he did. So it's not what I think is different. Yeah. It's from the different cases that I've seen with my own eyeballs that no, it's an entire, but it's supposed to be different because everything in this country has had a line of differences between us and them.
Well, it's kind of like you said from the beginning. When you say it's supposed to be different, it's like if black men are making 65 cents to the dollar of white men, then why do we have to pay equivalent to what the white man pays in child support? So I get it when you say it's supposed to be different, but we live in America and we would like to think that this was the land of the free.
Okay, well, then let me say the word then. What it is for black folks, it's the illusion of inclusion. They give you the illusion that you're included. But when you go to court as a black man, you realize you're not included in this America. And so to do the child support, to break apart the black family is what they need, because when we made the first civil rights movements in this country, what was the core reason why we were able to make that move, all of those marches?
It was because we were all together as one. Exactly.
We were the
Let's take a quick
break,
black family. Real quick. We'll be back. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. The business of being Black today is the child support system. Mark Prince, we were talking about civil rights before the break. Please break us down into why the destruction is or was important for America.
So when you really look at it, the civil rights movement was the first time that black people moved in masses, right? Now that scared the bejesus out of Cooter and them, right? They were like, yo, black people have never moved like that in this country as a whole. And they already systematically kept us from doing that. So when they saw that, that scared them. When they looked at how we were able to tear off those feet from marching from the South to Washington, what it was the core nucleus of the black family. Where did the people get fed along their marches? They stopped at these black homes. They got fed biscuits, food, they got their clothes washed, they got a good night's sleep, got up, kept on marching to the next place. The next day did the same thing over and over again. So who you have to take out in that system first? The black woman.
Martin Luther King.
The black woman. The black woman was the black woman is the quintessential key to the civil rights movement. Being able to move was the black woman, stopping off at those houses, being able to eat, sleep the next day, and then keep on marching. So they supplemented the black woman with this, told her she got to keep us out of the house. That breaks apart the nucleus of the black family. Once you break that part, we cannot march as a whole anymore.
I want to give some
Matter still around? Is Black Lives Matter still around?
I want to give some truths to the Black father, because I honestly believe, and it is my plight, to shine a positive light on Black fathers, because for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, Black fathers get a bad rap in America. So I just want to shed some light on it here. According to the CDC, Black dads, whether they live with their children or not, are more actively involved in their children's lives than their counterparts of other races. That means that Black fathers, according to the CDC, do more with their children actively than any other race. For example, the CDC reports that Black fathers who live with their children are more likely than fathers of other races to provide physical care. They're bathing their children, they're changing diapers, they're feeding their children, they're helping them read books and helping them with their homework, all on a daily basis, than fathers of other races who also cohabitate with their kids. The report from the CDC also reveals that among dads who don't live with their children, Black dads are more likely to be involved in the care, including homework, reading, talking to them about their day, and taking them to activities. more than Hispanics or white dads who live apart from their kids. And non-residential Black fathers are also the least likely to report that they're not at all involved in the care of their children, including bathing, dressing, changing diapers, and playing with their children. So this conception that the Black father is absent is an absolute lie, according to the CDC. How do we feel about this, Dr. Jackson?
Well, the thing that we have to understand is that in the Black community, we have for years, forever, been the father may be someplace else, but they come back home. They come back and make sure they take care of their kids. I know for myself, I've had uncles and things of that nature who may not have lived in the house, but they was there when it was time to discipline. They were there when it was time to feed us. They were there. And so we have, and we know it, but oftentimes we believe the narrative that the media may propagate, and we believe it and walk with it, and that's not the truth. We have to do a better job, and that's why I love what you're doing here of telling our story our way. We have to be honest and open. I may not have had the person in the house, but the person was still available for me. The person still wouldn't pick my child up for school when I had to work or I was out of town. I had a father and other fathers, other people in the community to help raise this young man that I raised. And yes, we do. I know
Judge Vonda brought up TikTok, and that she does a lot on TikTok. I have to thank TikTok for actually social media, in all social media platforms, because we are now seeing more images of Black fathers with their children. We're seeing them talking to their children. We're seeing them dressing like their children. We're seeing them going to church with their children. We are seeing so many Black fathers with their children, and just breaking down all of those stereotypes that the Black father doesn't exist. So I do like that about social media, because I love seeing those fathers. But I'm sure anybody who's contesting what I'm saying now would be like, well, yeah, that's how they live on Instagram. You see, they take a couple of Instagram pictures for 15 minutes, and then you don't see your daddy no more. Judge Vonda, is that true? Is it all a fraud? Is it fake? Is it just our imagination? Is it fake book?
You know what? And I'm anybody that know Vonda Bailey, I'm extremely and brutally honest to the T. If I said that anybody was faking the funk more over the other, it's the mom versus over the dad. Because I will tell you, a lot of these children do not live with their mothers, and their mothers are on paper the custodial parent. All right. I have a ton, majority of my clients in the past 8 years when I don't practice law anymore recently, but in the past 8 years when I practiced, majority of my clients, about 85 to 90% of them were men. And these men were extremely active. Only times they were inactive was when the mother said no, or when the mother said, you can't go over your daddy's house or something like that. Any other time when it's pictures posted, anything like that, especially people I know. I'm like, you look at somebody, like, you be like, I know you in real life. I know your kids they don't live with you. One thing, like I joke and say on the weekend, I don't have kids. My kids are their grandparents' grandchildren, because every weekend my children do go over to my parents' house, because I didn't grow up with grandparents. And I believe that the familiar structure is very important for any family. So I make sure that I do that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about day in, day out, parenting for children, taking them to school, scheduling their doctor's appointments, their dental appointments, taking their baths, meals, everything like that. That is not done by a lot of these mothers. But they are the ones a lot of times that do the fake book. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of Black women, especially from what I've seen on social media, they are the ones that break down a lot of the familiar structure of the Black family too, because they're quick to bash the Black man. And a lot of times it's not that he's done anything wrong per se. He's either moved on in a new relationship, he told her no for something she doesn't want, or something very trivial. It has nothing to do with the substance of taking care of their child, but they try to equate it to that because they're upset with them. So if we're going to say something is fake book, I would say more mothers do that than the fathers. The fathers that I have seen that post are extremely active, like I said, until they are inactive by the mother.
Well, as a Black woman, Judge Vonda, I didn't mean for it to go there, but I guess you kept it real. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now. We're not supposed to start dissing the Black mamas up in here now. Hold on.
If I want to educate, because education is core with everything. I respect educators. They are at the top pillar of everything. If you want to educate, you first have to start by being honest.
Dr. Sabrina, I want you to I see you trying to get in here. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to jump in because that is so important, because I wrote a book. It's called He's Not a Statistic, 12 Laws for Single Mothers Raising Black Males. And one of my laws is never badmouth the absent father for several reasons. One is that it's your fault, he the father. So the second reason is that that child still has half of their DNA from that person. So you don't want to make that person, that little person, feel bad about half of who they are. And a lot of times mothers do that. A lot of times they will say things, oh, your daddy trifling, or he not that. You still hurt and you haven't healed. And so we have to separate the relationship that I had with this man and what I need to do to co-parent with this man. And a lot of women don't know how to do that. And every day in this United States, 1,300 new blended families are created. That means that there are people coming together with children and they have a new stepfather and they don't know how to do it.
Wow. Look, Mark Prince is sitting over there like, speak, ladies, speak. I'll just speak. Go ahead, ladies. Hold on. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back. I love how you was up there. Go ahead, ladies. We'll be back.
I don't have to do it.
Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack, where the business of being Black today is the child support system. So I have to take it here and I have to go way above the average person's the average person's pay money. All right. So let's go into this fantasy world that most of us will never experience. NBA player Tristan Thompson's latest child's mother, fitness model Mara Lee Nichols, is requesting monthly child support of $47,000 in addition to her attorney fees, which exceed $1 million. Now, Thompson's monthly income is $810,075 a month. We got it to the T, y'all. Her income is zero. We got that to the T, too. She claims that her monthly expenses total $22,263 and that she and her son, Theo, are living at a far more depressed standard of living than Tristan. Should Nichols be entitled to receive that much money from Tristan Thompson? We'll start with you, Mark.
Child support is not severance pay. Ladies, child support is not there for you to live your lifestyle in severance pay. It is to let the child have a comfortable life when he's at your house, right? When he's living with you, child should have a certain level of comfort. But when it's a ball player making all this amount of money, yeah, they're going to give it to her. They go for astronomical chunks of change. Yeah, they're going to give it to her because it's a percentage.
I always felt like, Mark Prince, if you are a father or a mother and you're making a significant amount of money, and I'll use this extreme example, let's just say Tristan Thompson makes what he makes, and it's an extreme amount of money we can agree on. It's not the average person's income. And he goes to this lavish house and he drives these lavish cars, and his other kids, the Kardashian, he got a daughter by the Kardashian girl, right? And she gets all the goodies. I wouldn't feel right having my child go to a lesser situation.
No, they shouldn't.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want my child living somewhere below my own personal standards. And the unfortunate part is that also comes with the woman you had sex with. Now you have to provide the same thing for her simply because she had your child.
That's the part that should be illegal. You mentioned the Kardashians. Well, the other part is those kids get to live like that because the Kardashians siphon off other Black men anyway. So they got a steadily another income. Well, you said this woman, her income was absolutely zero. Go ahead.
So in this case,
he's being the one to float her boat. Should the child live as a lesser standard? No, but he's floating her boat. Now, if the other kids living on a higher standard with the Kardashian, yes, because the Kardashians also, those women have another source of income so they can live higher. Right. The child should be afforded every luxury that there should be afforded, but the mother should not make a profit off of it for herself. No.
I just don't know how that works, because the only way that cannot work is if the father has full custody of the child. Other than that, if Tristan wants his child to live the same way he lives, he has to provide that lifestyle not only for him, but the mother of his child as well. And it's so sad, too bad you slept with the woman. It's your bad, dog. That's your bad.
The one thing that all Black men have been asking for, I don't know if white men, but the one Black thing that all Black men have been asking for from the child support can help in this case, which is checks and balances when we pay that money. Checks and balances of what she does with that money for the child. I'll give you $22,000 a month if the checks and balances say everything goes to that child and is for the betterment. Every dime you spend is for that child, not buying lipo with your money when you're supposed to be buying Tyco with the money. And yes, you could get the $22,000 from my child.
Mark, do you have any upcoming performances we can check out?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be in Las Vegas at this the Lowrider show at the convention center. I just did the Hollywood Bowl last weekend. I just hosted that. Yes. And check me out. Yeah, I got a special coming out where I sold out the Apollo. So I'm doing my thing. I just want to say this real quick before I get off of here. Tammi Mac, it is such an honor to be on your show. And it is even more of an honor to be on a panel with ladies of your level. You said everything that I didn't have to say, and I really take every hat off to every lady on this panel. Thank you,
Mark Prince. It's definitely a blessing to have you on the show. Judge Vonda, how did your viral YouTube show Support Court with Judge Vonda B come about?
I was sitting at home watching Saturday TV one morning, and divorce court came on, then this new show called Couples Court. And I said, you know what? Everybody is talking about everything except for the most controversial area of the law.
Great idea.
So thank you. So I went to my producers at the time that were helping me with my law office production. And I said, hey, what do you all think about this show? And they were like, that is brilliant. And I didn't realize that it was something the world actually needed to see, not just the entertainment portion of it, right? But I believe that people needed to understand the laws, because here's the reality of it. Whether you agree or disagree with the child support laws in Texas specifically, they are what they are. My goal is to make sure that the playing field is level, because not everybody can hire an attorney. So if you are going to be going into the Texas courtroom and you have to represent yourself for child support, I at least want you to know not only what the law states, but what your rights are as a parent and the things that you can do to help you maneuver through the child support system a little better. I found that a lot of people just simply don't know what to do. So they have a lot of hurt feelings, especially those that have never been in the child support system. They have a lot of ideas in their head and hurt feelings automatically from other people in their situations. But not everybody tells you everything about their situations. A lot of people are not going to tell you that they were evading child support. A lot of people are not going to tell you that they were not taking care of their children. A lot of people are not going to tell you that.
I love the concept of the show. We got to get that on Foxsoul. We got that on. Or Fox Television, one or the other. Dr. Sabrina, tell us about your book. He is not a statistic. 12 laws for single mothers raising Black males.
Yes, I wrote that book because people kept asking me, what did I do to raise my son? My son graduated high school, valedictorian of his class, went to school on a full ride basketball scholarship at a Division I school at 5'7". They said it wasn't going to happen, and it did. In 3 years, he got his undergraduate degree. And by the time he was 23, he had his master's degree. And so I did do some things. And a lot of times people said that when you're single, being raised by a single mother, you're going to have these type of negative statistics. And I say, oh, no, not my son. So I did some things. So I put them in a book. And so people can go to my website, sabrinajackson.com, if they want to get the book. And then every Monday, I have Mental Health Mondays on Fox 2 here in Detroit. And I give tips, tools, and strategies to help us with our mental, because at the end of the day, on any given day, we are somewhere between mental wellness and mental illness. We need to know how to stay closer to mental wellness.
Yes. In one word, everyone, I know it's going to be hard, but in one word, how can the child support system be fixed? In one word, what do we need to do? Mark Prince.
Fatherhood.
Like that one. Like that one. Dr. Sabrina.
Education.
Education. Got to be educated on it. Look, my word is stay out. Just stay out of it. Compromise. Yeah, I think my word would be compromise, because I think if more mothers and fathers compromised and literally did what was best for the child, we could keep the system out of our system. Thank you so much, Mark Prince, for being on the show. Thank you, Dr. Sabrina Jackson, for being on the show. We lost Judge Vonda, but that's okay. You can catch her on our show on YouTube. TGIF is next with Claudia Jordan. That's it for me on The Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. Until next time, everyone, it's a blessing to be in your box. Thanks for being on the show. Bye, y'all.